What, do you expect some kind of unboxing? In this exciting episode of Hazel Reviews, we're going to be looking at GrapheneOS on this Google Pixel 10. I was this close to pre-ordering the Pixel 10a until I realized how identical it is to the Pixel 9a, so I eventually decided to go for this. The Google Pixel 10 was first introduced in August of 2025 for a retail price of $799. The Pixel 10 features the Google Tensor G5 with an Imagination DXT48 1536 GPU and a Titan M2 security enclave with 12GB of LPDDR5X RAM, 256GB of UFS 4.0 storage, a 6.3-inch actual OLED panel with a resolution of 1080 by 2424 with 3000 nits of peak brightness and a 120Hz refresh rate. That is 421 pixels per inch. It also comes with a 4970 mAh internal battery with 39W wire charging and 25W G2 wireless charging, also known as Pixel Snap, a 48 megapixel main camera, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 11 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 10.5 megapixel selfie cam, and it runs on Android 16 out of the box with Google's Pixel Experience skin on top. So without further ado, let's go right ahead and install GrapheneOS. Installing GrapheneOS is as easy as 1, 2, 3, especially since that you can easily do so with a graphical installer, as long as you have a compatible operating system, a phone with an unlockable bootloader, and a Chromium-based browser because we're going to utilize WebUSB. If you are using Brave, shields must be down to be able to run this program without issues, and the phone must be factory unlocked, such as getting a phone from a brick and mortar store and not from a carrier. Otherwise, you will face issues when trying to unlock the bootloader. To enable OEM unlocking on your phone, head over to Settings, About Phone, tap build number several times so you have enabled development settings, then head back to System, Developer Options, and enable OEM unlocking and USB debugging. Once you have enabled these options, head over to your computer and click on Unlock Bootloader, and it will reboot into fast boot mode, followed with a screen that lets you choose whether to unlock the bootloader or not. Use the volume keys to select Unlock the bootloader and press the power button. Once it reboots into fast boot again with the status saying Unlocked, click on Download Release to obtain the latest available version of GrapheneOS. Once it's downloaded, simply click on Flash Release and it will finally install the operating system to the phone. A few moments later, it'll reboot into the bootloader once the flashing process is complete. Locking the bootloader is important as it enables full verified boot. It also prevents tampering from prying hands, of course. Click on Lock Bootloader on your computer and select Lock the Bootloader on your phone to complete the process. When you set up your phone, the final screen will contain a toggle regarding OEM unlocking, which is checked by default. This will disable OEM unlocking, which is recommended, of course. Out of the box, it's pretty bare bones as it's basically AOSP with the added security of GrapheneOS, making it essentially a nice dumb phone. But unlike a dumb phone, you can download and select apps and components from Android, being able to download Google Play services as a Sandboxed app from GrapheneOS's built-in App Store instead of being a core system component like standard versions of Android, allowing you to gain further control over what it can and can't do. For example, I choose it to only access the network while everything else is toggled off. Speaking of network permissions, you can toggle such permission to any app, even Google Play services if you want. This is really nice, as some apps shouldn't need a network connection in the first place. Like, why the hell does a music app need a constant data connection anyway? Contact scopes provide a granular privacy alternative to granting full contact access, allowing you to share only specific contacts or groups with apps. It makes them believe they have full permission while keeping the contact list empty or restricted by default, enhancing privacy by preventing unsolicited contact data access. Storage scopes allows you to trick apps into thinking they have full storage permissions when they actually do not. It is a privacy-focused alternative to the standard Android all files access or media permissions. You can manually add specific files or entire folders to the app's allowed list. This allows you to give an app like Discord access to only one specific memes folder rather than the entire photo gallery. Vanadium is the default browser for GrapheneOS, which is a hardened Chromium-based browser and WebView implementation. Includes automatic updates, process and site-level sandboxing, and built-in ad and tracker blocking. You can take pictures with GrapheneOS using your default camera app or by installing Google's Pixel camera app. Since I want to take advantage of all the cameras I have, especially since the Google Pixel 10 comes with an 11 megapixel telephoto lens, however, the default camera app is supposedly going to get all kinds of new features and sources, but I won't hold my breath for too long. The phone and messaging apps are basically default Android open source project apps. You can, however, use Google Messages to use features like RCS messaging. You can make the numbers in the pin pad scramble each and every time, pretty useful as it can be used to prevent unauthorized tampering. Duress PIN. It self-destructs the session and any stored data on the device once you entered an assigned number. Scheduled reboot is pretty much self-explanatory, setting up the phone to reboot automatically in a scheduled time. This is pretty good as it can effectively lock the device when not in use and possibly clear system cache. So it can be used to prevent unauthorized tampering, of course. USB-C port control disables USB connections when the device is locked to prevent unauthorized access. And verified boot ensures that only trusted software runs on the device. The Google Pixel 10 family of phones will be the last in the series to be supported by the GrapheneOS team before partnering up with another OEM that meets or exceeds the requirements of such criteria to run the OS. The reason developers exclusively supported the Google Pixel phones is because they met strict privacy and security standards, such as being able to relock the bootloader and the inclusion of the tightened security enclaves, as well as other features like memory tagging extensions and of course verified boot. But that's going to change, especially since that they might not add support for Google Pixel 11 series of phones, though they will keep pushing software upgrades and security updates for the remainder of the lifespan of Google Pixel 10 phones and earlier. The GrapheneOS team said that it was working with another major Android OEM on future devices that would support the OS on Qualcomm Snapdragon processors and were expected to be launched in late 2026 or early 2027. Speculations online includes brands like Sony, Nothing, or Motorola, but it is highly unlikely in my opinion, as these phones only provide about 2 to 4 years of OS updates with little to no developer tools needed to make GrapheneOS as secure and private as the developers want it to be. But time will always tell who will be the next OEM to provide phones that can be used with the world's most secure mobile operating system. That's all for this episode of Hazel Reviews. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.